Hey guys, welcome to the Scholar Online YouTube channel, the channel that is all about learning. In this channel, I make a lot of videos on how to create your own website, how to create your own e-commerce or WooCommerce website and start making money online by selling products online. If you're new to this channel, please remember to hit the subscribe button. You can find it at the bottom of the video and just hit subscribe. Please like this video if you like my content and remember to leave me a comment below. Talk to me, let me know what you like about the videos, what you don't like about the videos, what I can do to improve on these videos. And if you're new to the channel as well, if you go to the description, there is video timestamps available for you if you want to jump ahead to certain sections of the video. If you don't want to watch the entire video, please feel free to utilize those video timestamps and follow us on our social media channels. We've got a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page, and let's start learning. In this video, we're going to build our very own web application using Python and the Flask framework. So the application that we're going to build is a crypto tracker. It's going to track the top 10 cryptocurrencies from the Coinmarketcap API. It's going to show us their names, their symbols, the slugs, and their price. But you could basically use any API that you want. The principles we're going to show you in this video is just how to use Python to build an application that is calling data from an API. So if you look at the application sort of architecture here, we're going to have a front end that is HTML and CSS, and we're going to use a Bootstrap library to sort of style our HTML. And we're going to build our server sort of a middleware inside the Python framework where we're going to be calling our data source. And in this case, our data source is going to be the Coinmarketcap API. And we're going to be doing a little bit minor computing in there, but basically you'll be calling endpoints, and those endpoints are going to be displaying data in the front end, and that data is going to be these top 10 cryptocurrencies. So basically the principles you learn here, you could use anyway. We're going to learn a lot of interesting stuff. We're going to first of all create our Python development environment inside of our VPS machine that we installed last week from DigitalOcean. This is also where we are going to be hosting our web application. So if you want to know how to set up a DigitalOcean sort of Python, working, Python, development environment, then you're in the right place. You could just watch the first part of the video. So last week we installed our virtual private server or VPS machine using DigitalOcean. So we purchased a $5 DigitalOcean droplet to work as a private server. So that's all we did. We just installed it last week and sort of set up a secondary user out, that wasn't the root user. So now we're ready to start doing some exciting stuff with our VPS. The first thing we're going to do is a web application. So we're going to build a web application in this video tutorial today, and we're going to use a Python Flask framework to build this web application, and then we're going to load this web application on our VPS private server machine. And so it's going to be exciting. I hope we can do this very, very quickly, less than an hour, but let's get down to it. Right now, let's discuss first of all the main difference between a website and a web application. So far, we've built a lot of websites on this channel. We've built e-commerce websites, we've built blogging websites, we've built HTML, CSS websites, we've built all types of websites. But sometimes a client might come to you and they want you to build something a little bit more sort of different. Like maybe they want you to build them something that scraps, that uses web scraping, something that sort of requires more development than what you can get in a typical website. And so you're going to have to get the skills for it, and you've come to the right place, Scholar Online, to learn all of that. Now, the first difference between a website and a web application is that a website is generally static. It hosts static data. So what does that mean? That means that you're going to build a CSS file, an HTML file, and you're going to write whatever you want. You're going to say, this is my website. I am a web developer. My name is Bertha, or my name is whoever my name is. And you're going to put a picture of yourself. You're going to put a lot of nice things to make your website look nice, but that information doesn't change. You're going to code it once at the beginning, and it's always going to be there until you want to go update it, put a different image, or put, add another page, so it's basically, that's what we mean by static. You're going to write that like a blog. You're going to write it once. People can comment on it, but the information itself does not change. It remains the same. So that is a static website. A web application is generally dynamic. Okay, the information on it is not the same. A good example is like a Facebook page. If I go to a Facebook page and I go log into my Facebook page, I don't see the same thing you see when you log into your Facebook page, because my Facebook page is sort of customized for me. It's going to show posts that's related to me, people that I follow, things that I'm interested in. That's what I'm going to see. That is dynamic content. So there is something that has to work at the back end to calculate. Bertha is the one that's logging in. Let's go find all of Bertha's friends and all the posts that only Bertha's friends have done, and let's show that to Bertha, information that is relevant to Bertha today. You're going to see only information that's relevant to you. So that is a dynamic web application. It is not the same thing as a website. If you look at the, I don't know, like a typical website, like the websites we've been building, e-commerce websites, e-commerce stores, it doesn't matter. Everybody that sort of logs in there sees the same information because we've built a static website. The second thing is it's easier to do a website. There's a lot of templates you can work with. I mean, you can go to Envato. I've shown you how to get templates from Envato. You can go to Theme Forest. You can go to ThemeWagon, or you can even get free templates. And you can you can find a template for, I want to do a portfolio website, and then just work off the template and make a couple of changes here and there. And it's pretty much usually easy to do. But a web application on the other side is not always that simple. Even if you work off a template, you're going to have to do a lot of middleware work, what we call a server work, to make that data relevant to people that are going to be looking at that web application. So you're not always going to find readily available templates for dynamic, complex type of web applications that you want to build. A lot of the times you have to maybe mix and match templates, or learn a little bit of HTML and sort of work around the front end to make it display what you want it to display. Okay, so there's more work involved when you do a web application. Hence, as web developers, we always charge more. Like a client might come and they want a website and I charge them, I don't know, 2,000-3,000 rands, and then somebody else comes to me and then I say, no, yours is going to be 100K. And they'll be like, do you charge 100,000 rands, or do you charge 5,000 rands for websites? And I say, no, it depends. It depends on what you want to build. If you want to build a portfolio website, yes, I'll do it in like 2 hours and I'll charge you 5,000 rands for it. But if you want me to build for you something like a LinkedIn or something like a job posting website, you might think website, but actually a job posting website is not a website at all. It's a web application. I have to do a database. I have to have a server at the back end. I have to calculate, how many jobs are coming a month. Are we going to be sending people emails, notifications? People are logging in. We have to have like a security around people's information. You have to now involve privacy settings. There's a lot involved when you're doing a web application. Yes, you can easily, the prices for a web application can easily go up to 100, 200K in some cases that you charge people. So if you're a web developer, it's definitely always a good idea to learn the skills of building a web application, because you can definitely earn more for building people web applications than you do for just building simple websites. The other thing as well is there's definitely more competition in building websites because it's easy. Anybody can do. You can go get a WordPress template and build a quick website, and so there's lots of people doing it. Hence, there's more competition in the market. If you want to sort of separate yourself from the competition and learn a little bit more about building websites, you might want to learn web applications. And then, so then you can, there's less competition at the top, and also you can definitely charge more money for building people customized web applications, all right? Then the other thing I want to also discuss in terms of web applications is you always have, so it's sort of like the architecture. So let me just put in a new slide here and sort of discuss with you the typical architecture of a web application. Generally, you will have a front end. Okay, so generally you will have, I'm just going to, generally you will have like a front end, okay? And this will be built with HTML, right, and CSS. Because somebody has to look, that is the front end website that people will see. Even if you're building a job posting website, let's use a job posting website to sort of do this demonstration. So let's say somebody wants me to create a job posting website, right? And this job posting website, though, they just assume, okay, website, please create for me a job posting website. I know actually it's not really just a website, it's a web application. So the front end is where people will be able to log in and search for jobs and see what they're looking for. But that information has to be displayed from somewhere. So you're gonna need like a back end, what we call where that data comes from. Okay, so I'm gonna call this like your data source. Okay, and by data source, I mean where are the jobs that you're posting on your front end coming from. Okay, and a data source can be anything. It can be an API. Okay, so perhaps you have subscribed to an API that has all the latest jobs, and you can just sort of call off the API endpoints, and then it's going to send you back the jobs, and then you're going to take those jobs, and then you're going to show on the front end. So when your clients come in, they see the job posting. So that's the first type of data source you can have, right? The second type of data source you can have is you can do scrapping. It's not always legal, but it's available, and there's a lot of web developers that actually do that, and we're going to do it in some tutorials on it, and I'll just show you. So what scraping is, you find another job posting website that does exactly what you do. You go and you scrape their website, and you get their data, and you put it in your own database, and then you show it off your own front end. Okay, so that's scrapping. The last way you can get data for your front end is you can you can just have it being entered manually. So you can have your own manual database. Okay, so I'm going to call this like manual. What this means is that you could like just hire a company, not hire, but like have companies subscribe to you, and sort of get to know these companies, and have them, every time they've got a job that they need, they sort of come and log in and create a job opportunity when they have jobs available opening in their company, and you can start building your database of job opportunities, and then you display that database on your front end. So there's many ways to find data to display in your job posting website. But obviously, between the API and the front end, something has to come in the middle, right? And this is usually the server. So this is what we call I'll call it a server. You can call it a program. You can call it middleware. Basically what this is it's your computing. Okay, this is your computing. This is where you're going to write your program. So for example, this is what's going to fetch the data, whether it's fetching it from an API or it's scraping or it's manually. You're going to write your program in here that fetches that information, and then that program is going to display it in the front end. It's going to display it based on, if I'm living in Joburg and I'm searching for jobs that's engineering related, because I'm an engineer and I want to see only chemical engineering jobs, this middleware will only find the chemical engineering jobs and show me only what's relevant to me. This is pretty much like how Facebook works. You only see what is relevant to you, only people that you're following. So perhaps in this kind of thing, you will have this type of architecture to build a web application. And typically 99%, 99.9% of all web applications will have this generic sort of architecture. You'll have a front end, you'll have a middleware, and you'll have a data source. And in this lecture today, we're going to build something like this. We're going to build this in Python. So our middleware is going to be Python. We're going to use a Python framework called Flask, and we're going to write a program that is going to fetch data from some other source, and we're going to use an API. All right, so let me just make that bold to say we're going to use an API data source, and maybe in the future we'll create other applications where we are using scrapping, and another one we're using a manual database. But API is usually the simplest, and we don't want to waste too much time today. So we're going to use an API. We're going to do Python Flask, all right, and then we're going to do HTML and CSS. Usually you don't have a choice. Because most front ends have to be HTML and CSS. We have seen HTML and CSS before, but we haven't seen a server, and we haven't seen an API. And there's many servers you can do. You can do PHP, you can do even like JavaScript, servers. There's many ways, but we are choosing to use Python Flask. I personally love Python Flask because it's just so easy to work with. You literally write in Python like you're writing normal English, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And we're going to get into that just later on. But the first part of this lecture is going to be us setting up our development environment. Now that we have our droplet, we are going to need to install all of the things that we need to get this to work. The first thing that we need to install is obviously a Python development environment. So I'm going to go through installing Python development environment with you guys in this lecture. And then after that, we're going to install something to help us with the front end and to display whatever it is we've built to the people. So people can just go to a website and click www.what. And so we're going to use like we'll get to it, a proxy server, whatever. We'll use that. We'll get to it when we're building the front end. Okay. We have our VPS machine that we purchased from DigitalOcean. This is when you log in, this is what you see. So all you need to do is to copy the IP address and go to a terminal window. Anyway, this is why I want to develop with VPS and sort of so I can standardize a tutorial. And then I don't have to show you how to do this on Windows and show you how to do this on Mac and show you how to do this on all different types of sort of computers based on what you're using. If you follow my tutorial, you could be using any machine, it wouldn't matter, because we're actually going to run this program on the VPS itself. So the only difference between you using maybe a Mac, if you're using a Windows, would just be how you log into your VPS. So I know that there's different ways to SSH into your VPS if you're on Windows, and you can just Google how to do SSH into a VPS from Windows, because I'm doing it from Mac. And from Mac, all I need is a terminal window. And on that terminal window, I just type SSH, okay? And then I type the name, my username in that VPS. I hope I used Scolo. So that's the username on the VPS machine. And then I say Scolo at the IP address of that VPS machine. Okay, so SSH Scolo at the IP address. I just do that, and then it will ask me for a password because I created a password for this, and I hope I have the password right. So let me just test this. Hope I haven't forgotten my password. Okay, so that's the password, and then just like that, I've logged in, and you'll see that the color is different. This is my machine. Okay, Mercedes MacBook Pro. This is my actual Apple machine. So when I go into terminal, whatever command I'm running inside my machine. But the moment I SSH into the IP address using the username Scolo, I'm SSHing Scolo at this IP address. I'm now going into the machine that is this VPS, that is a server, and under the username, under the user Scolo. Last week tutorial we did all of this. So if you watching this and you haven't done this, please go watch the very previous tutorial on this playlist. We showed you how to create this VPS and then how to create a secondary user that is not the root user, so that we can run all our programs on a second user, not the root account. So my user that I've created is Scolo. And if you were like in a company, an organization, and you have multiple people that are working in your organization, maybe you got 5-10 developers, you can create every developer their own account on the same VPS machine, and then each developer can run their own programs in their own sort of username space on the same virtual server. And then you only have one root who's responsible for creating accounts for everybody. So we've created one account, Scolo, and we're going to be running our programs from here. So once you've done this, just click clear. This is a clean VPS. I haven't installed anything on it. So I'm going to show you from scratch how to get your development environment going and get this done. And then you might ask me about why does a person want to do this web application on a VPS and not on your own computer? Why don't you just write this code on your computer? Why am I showing you doing this in a VPS? It's actually very good practice, even though it costs a little bit more. It's going to cost you $5 a month to do this, but obviously, you're learning and it's going to cost you something. But the reason why I personally prefer, I don't know about you, the reason why I personally would choose to do this on a VPS and not my own computer is I don't want to install 100 different things on my computer. I don't even want to install Python on my personal computer. I don't have a lot of space on this MacBook, and I do a lot of stuff on this recording videos that take a lot of space. So I don't want to have all versions of Python in here, because sometimes I have to run a program on Python 2, sometimes I have to run it on Python 3, sometimes on Python 3.6, depending on what I'm running. Sometimes I need to do it on Docker, and I don't want to do it all on my personal computer. I wouldn't have the space to do it. So every time I've got a new project, I just create a virtual private server, and I do the project from there, where I'll install the Python there. And even though I'm writing the code on my computer, I actually don't run it on my computer. I run it on the VPS. Okay, so it's just a practice that I choose. You can choose to do it like that, or you can just run it on your computer if you don't mind. Then you can just follow the same tutorial, but instead of the logging into the VPS, whatever I'm doing now, you can then just install it on your computer at home and run it from there. It will still be the same difference at the end of the day. But if you're building a website, if you're actually building a web application for a client, or even if you're building a web application you wanted to test out and actually load it on the internet, you would still need a VPS. So either way, you might as well just then do your coding there, because you won't be able to host it on your personal computer. Okay, and you won't be able to host it on shared server properly because of the specialized type of things you need to install. So either way, if you're doing a web application, you're going to need a VPS. All right. So I mean, if you want to host it, and you want it on the internet. So now, once we're here, that again, we're gonna go through our DigitalOcean tutorials, okay? And I will put the link in the description in the video below, and you can go and have and just find where this tutorial is. But if you search for it, they're usually very easy to find, okay? So the tutorial we're going to go through is how to serve Flask applications with WSGI and nginx on Ubuntu 20.4. If you recall, last week we did install Ubuntu 20.04, and that's the tutorial we're going to follow. If you have a different Ubuntu or a different operating system, you can just like click on the down thing here on the actual you can see more on the actual tutorial itself. And nowadays they've done this tutorial so well. I think DigitalOcean, they're really definitely the best when it comes to this type of tutorials, and they always keep it up to date. So if something changes, you'll always know what to do. But we're not going to host it on an actual domain, but if you wanted to, then you could follow the full tutorial. It's actually very easy to follow. What we're gonna actually just run it on the machine as is, without hosting it on an actual domain, because we don't want to build a domain just for this. I'm just showing this for educational purposes. So the first thing that you want to do always is to update your packages. So you just run that command there. It will ask for a password again, and then you're gonna enter it, and then it's gonna just sort of update all your packages. Then once we've done that, actually let me like put this here closer to where I am. Then you're gonna install Python. Okay, there's a lot of things here. Okay, you're installing Python 3 pip, dev, build essential, whatever. There's a lot of things you need to install here. Okay, so just copy it as it is like that. All right, and then paste it. All right, and it's gonna go through that whole process and install it for you. If it asks whether you wanna take up all that space, just say yes and give it time for that installation to go through. Okay, and then once you've done that, we're gonna start creating the Python virtual environment. So let's just wait for that installation to go. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create, we're going to install this apt install Python 3 virtual environment. So just copy that and paste that there as well, and then it will do the installation. Click yes for that to go through. All right, and once you've done that, then you're going to create your project folder, and then inside your project folder, you're going to create your virtual environment. And let me explain to you what is a virtual environment. A virtual environment is going to be a sort of area where you're going to install all your libraries within the folder where you are creating your application from. So that because if you just run and install packages or install libraries, Python libraries in general, they will be installed in the whole virtual server. And then when you're running a program and you want to use Python 2 and somebody else using Python 3, or you want to use a certain version of a library, because libraries are different, they are written for certain versions of Python, your libraries might clash with each other. So when you create a virtual environment, you are able to, even in the virtual environment, select the libraries that you want. If, for example, you want to use the request library, you could install request library version whatever X that you want to work with, and that a version of that request library will only exist in that environment where you've installed it if you've done it in a virtual environment. Which means if I had two Python programs running in the same virtual machine, I could use different versions of the request library in the different applications based on what I want to do, because I would be running them both in separate virtual environments. So the environment is like only where you're running the program. Okay, it might be too much to think about now if you're new to Python and how all of this works, but just learn that the best way to run a Python program is within a virtual environment. It can still run outside of a virtual environment. And I used to run in my computer a long time ago, before I would do this in a VPS, when I was still a beginner, I would install all my libraries in the same place. I would install, and then eventually after you build in like 3 or 4 different programs, then they start to clash with each other, and then you have a program that, you get bugs in this program and you don't know why. You try to fix the versions of the libraries here, and then they clash with another program which was doing just fine before you change the libraries, and then that library doesn't work with this, and then it becomes like a mess, hullabaloo mess. So trust me in this, especially if you're going to be building more than one application. But it's also just good practice. It's good development practice to do it this way. Okay, if anybody asks you, just say, you know what, this is best practice. Just do it like that. So what we're going to do, we've installed that. We're going to now go into the project folder, and then we're going to install the virtual environment inside of the project folder. Okay, so for us to do that, let's just clear. Let us list. You can click ls. ls is for listing everything where you are right now. You can see that this is a new installation. There's nothing here. So we're going to create a new folder. So mkdir is the sort of the thing to create. The prompt of instruction to create a new folder. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it, let's call it app. No, let's call it development. All right, and then after we've done that, I've got development spelling right. Development, okay. All right, and we're going to cd into that folder, development. Okay, so this is 2 commands in one. I'm creating the folder, and then I'm going into that folder, and then you'll see now I'm no longer where I was in the root. I'm now under development, so I've now entered that development folder, and within this development folder I'm going to create another one, and called app. All right, so I'm just going to call this app, and cd into the app like that. All right, so now I'm inside the development and inside the app, and I'm going to write my Python program in here. So this is where I'm going to build my virtual environment. So I'm going to copy this. All right, Python 3.8, but instead of calling this my project env, I'm just going to call this app env, and you can change this name how you want. This name at the end is the name that's going to be given to your virtual environment. Okay, all right, so once you've done that, you can just do source, the name of the virtual environment, bin activate. So just copy that. And actually, let me not copy so I can type it properly. You just need to type source, okay? And then my virtual environment was app env. All right, bin activate. So we're basically activating our virtual environment so we can start working inside of the virtual environment. And you click enter. And if everything goes well and the virtual environment is activated, what you will see is that virtual environment at the beginning of your prompt. So then everything I'm doing now, I'm inside of the virtual environment. Okay, so once we've done that, we're gonna now install everything we need, pip install, and once you've created a virtual environment, you'll see, like with normal Python, sometimes you would have to do pip3 install whatever. But once you're in the virtual environment, you don't need to do that. You can just say pip, because we know which pip we've installed, because we've installed it in when we did the Python 3.8. So everything you're doing now will be running under Python 3.8, and then you don't need to say pip3 because then it's just automatic that it is pip3. So you only have to just say pip install wheel. That's the first thing that you need to install before you can install your USGI and Flask. So let's do that. All right, that installed successfully, and then we're going to install USGI and Flask. We'll see there's nothing in here. There's still only the env, right? So we're gonna put all our Flask files in here, right? So let's just start by the Flask sort of server structure, and we'll continue from there. Okay, so to continue with our Flask application, I just want to show you this high level sort of folder structure that you generally need for a Flask application. So this is, I'm stealing this from our Scholar Online sort of, I wouldn't call them lecture notes, but they're sort of reference, cheat sheets, if you want to call it, where we're actually developing a very interesting course on building your own blockchain using Flask. I mean, using Python, and there's a part where we have to do a Flask application, and I'm stealing the notes from that. But I just want to show you, this is how you'd want, this is the ideal folder structure for a Flask application. You will need a folder called static, and inside your static folder, you're going to put all your static assets like your CSS, your JavaScript, your fonts, your images in there. Okay, and this is the CSS that's going to be used inside your HTML files. You keep them under the static folder. So inside the static folder, you could have a CSS folder, and then inside the CSS folder, then you have multiple CSS files, depending on how many CSS files you're working with. If you only have one CSS file, then maybe under a static folder, you would have the one CSS file, the one JavaScript file, the one font file or whatever it is, and then you can have another folder, subfolder inside there, and then put your images in there. Then when you reference it, you'll reference it as a subfolder of the static, but it needs to be inside the static folder. And then you will have another folder that is called the templates folder, and all your HTML files are going to sit inside the templates folder, and your index.html, the forward.html, and so forth. And then in the same root of the directory is where you will have your app.py file. Okay, so this is basically typically how you want it. Good practice is to have another file called config.py where you put all your config elements if you want to hide them from the rest. But we're not going to go into this long folder structure for today's lecture. For today's learning purposes, we're just going to do it the way it's on the tutorial. We're just going to have one folder and have the file in there. Perhaps we'll have a a templates folder, because we're definitely going to do something in, because we need to build this web application for showing dynamic data, which is going to be coming from an API, and I think we're going to build something on displaying the latest cryptocurrency numbers. So we're definitely going to need an HTML file. Then we'll definitely do the templates. But for now, just let's continue with the tutorial as is. Okay, so we just need to create a file, and I'm not gonna call it my project.py. I'm going to call it app.py. So you basically just put in the nano app.py. Okay, what this does is that it will create a new file for you called app.py. And what Nano is like the sort of the text editor in the sort of the default text editor inside of Ubuntu, and it comes standard installed. And if you just do that, it will open. This is actually a text editor, and you can type in here any code that you want to type, and you can save it, and then it's going to run it and create a file called app.py. So what we're going to do is that we're going to copy what is in here as it is, and we're going to paste it in there. So from Flask, which is the library we've just installed, import Flask module, and then we're going to initiate the app. All right, we're going to initiate the app, and then we're going to have a basic root of the app called that, and return style color blue hello there. Okay, let's change the sort of the text in here. Okay, and the way this works is that you have to always you have to find where the prompt is, and you have to move it to where you want to make the changes. So we're going to change this h1. Instead of saying hello there, we're going to say welcome to Scholar Online. Perhaps put a smiley face in there and some space there, and instead of having it in blue, so you'll see they have a bit of styling in there, let's have it in red, right? And then it's just gonna run this on 000, and let's just save this by closing the file. And you close the file by on my dashboard is Control X, and then do you want to modify this? You say yes, you just type yes. File name to write is app.py, and then you click enter. And if you say ls and you list everything in your directory, now you will see there's a new folder called app.py. If you want to open this folder again and see what's inside app.py, you simply do nano app.py, and it's going to open that file app.py, and you can see what's typed in there. All my changes have been saved, and you just Control X, it closes that file. There's no save, nothing new to save, so it won't ask you for anything, but that file is already saved. Okay, so once you've done that, we haven't activated our firewall, so you don't have to run this command. But if you had activated a firewall, you would need to at least open up the default to open up this port 5000. So what we're going to do now is just run the program by saying python app.py. So if you say python app.py, it's going to run your, and if everything goes well, it will tell you where to find the where to find the program. So what we need is that we need to find our IP, HTTP, and find the IP, our IP, and then go to that port 5000 to find our application. A window, and just type HTTP, right? And paste that IP address. This is the IP for our VPS. It's the same IP there, 161.35.241. So that's the IP for our VPS, and then you're gonna use port 5000 because the application is running off port 5000. If you're not sure, the port is always displayed under the Flask. When it serves, it tells you where to find the application. So you go to port 5000, you click enter, and you should find your web application. So currently, there's no SSL. This is just running. It's like a development environment. So we're gonna write, for the sake of this tutorial, on the development environment. I'm not going to actually load this on a proper production environment for you, but I'm just teaching you the basics of running a Flask application. I think that's sufficient. So this is where we're going to be dealing with our Flask application. So I'm going to keep this open, and as we start building it up, we're going to be sort of building it up from here. So any changes that you make here now, so if you go back and you make changes, if you close this, so if you can if you stop that and say nano app.py, and you open it up and you make some changes in there. All right, and let's say you change the color to blue, what it was before. All right, and you close it. It will ask if you want to save. You say yes, and then you run the application again, python app.py. This time when you restart it, it will be blue. Okay, so all the changes you make on that side will also reflect here. So what we're going to do next is the last part of our tutorial. Very exciting. We are going to build an application that is going to be displaying the latest cryptocurrency numbers. If you recall, where is our notes? There it is. I said to you the main difference between a website and a web application is that the web application is dynamic, and you're able to display dynamic content and things that moving parts and things like that. Well, you could even host a static website on Flask if you wanted. Like if you had an HTML file, you could write anything you want in your HTML file and host that, and it will still work, but it would be overkill to host a static application on Python. Because what we want to do now is the front end is going to be HTML, CSS, where we display our numbers, but the middle where we do our computing, that's the Flask part, and our data source in this case is going to be an API. So let's go look quickly through the API that we're going to be using, and let me just walk you through it very, very quickly. So go onto a website, and because we want to display Bitcoin price numbers, I just Googled Bitcoin price API, and I went to Coinmarketcap. I like Coinmarketcap because I've used it before, and it's a very reliable API. I don't, it's a long time ago. Last time I used it, you didn't even need an API key. But today I went onto it, and it looks like you're gonna need an API key now. If I'm missing something, let me know. But I've used this API without a key in the past, and you could just call it, you know. But there is a free version, and I think it's going to be sufficient for our demonstration purposes. So just go to and open that CoinMarketCap API, and go through their pricing, coinmarketcap.com API pricing, and you'll see that there is the free version where you only get like 9 market data endpoints and 100 whatever. So there isn't a lot, but you can't get historical data, but we don't need that. We actually want to display the live Bitcoin price numbers as they change on our website to people who come to our website. And I'm just showing you this as a way to show you how to build a similar type of website if you have to call an API, right? And so click on get a free API key. It will take you somewhere where you can open an account and open a free account and copy your API key. And then we're gonna come here where they've got their tutorial, and we're gonna follow some of their tutorials here to see to build this. Okay, so I'm going to pause this video now, and you can pause this video now as well and go through this process and get your API key, and then once you're done, then you can continue and you can do the rest of the tutorial. Okay, so let's have a look at our file again. You'll see that currently, if you look at the file root, it's returning an H1 HTML tag, color blue, that just says welcome to school online. We want to start returning an actual HTML file. All right. So if you want to return an actual HTML file, there's a couple of things you need. The first thing is that you need to include what we call render template. All right. So you need to import Flask, and then you need to import render underscore template like that. And then we're going to use the render template to render the template that we want to import. But before we can do that, let's close this and say yes. You can save that. Let's create, so let's just say touch template. No, actually, no, not touch. We're going to make it a new directory. Okay, make a new directory that is called a template, because this is where we're going to save our templates, and we're going to cd in that directory already. Okay, cd templates, and let's go in there, and inside here is where we can say, actually not touch, sorry, I'm on here, so I need to say nano app dot whatever the template we're going to be using, name is going to be index.html. So we're going to create an index.html template that we're going to render in the front end. Okay, so it's going to open up the new nano text editor, and we can write our HTML in here. But nano text editor is like impossible to work with. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to type this somewhere else. So I've got an HTML file that I've just opened up on my own template in my own computer on this Atom text editor, and it's much easier to type from here. So I'm going to type here and instead copy and paste to the other side. So to create an HTML sort of tag for on Atom, it just really makes it easy. You just start typing the words HTML, and then you'll get an HTML sort of like a basic boilerplate. And then we're just going to call this our Scolo Bitcoin or crypto price. No, Scolo crypto. Let's call it that way. All right, that's inside the head of the theme, and in the body, let's just put like a div and have a first div that's a container, and then after that, let's put in like an h1 tag that says this is our Scolo crypto price tracker. All right, and then let's put in another p there that says the Bitcoin price is, We don't know what it is for now. We're going to fill it in with an actual number there for what the Bitcoin price is, all right? And so that's an HTML tag. So let's save that. All right, save that, and then we're just actually going to copy that and copy it into our HTML there. All right, so we'll just paste it like it is there and close that. Yes, save it, and let's cd out of here back into the apps. And if we list this, we need to then open app.py, and then instead of returning h1, we're going to return the new template that we've just created. All right, so I'm going to just delete all of this. I'm going to delete all of this. All right, and I'm going to type it again somewhere else so that I don't get it wrong. So we're going to render the template index.html, right? And all the locals. So just copy that and paste it like that. So what this does is that it returns render template index.html and all the locals, local variables, and save that. Yes. All right. So if we now run the program python app.py, all right, and we go to our website front end where we are running this program there, and we enter it, we should see the new HTML file that we just created. If you recall, this is our Scholar Crypto tracker. This is the HTML file we just built. And you'll see even the heading Scholar Crypto. So what we're going to do now, we're going to work off that HTML and return the variables like that. So now we need to get that Bitcoin price. So now you've already gotten your API keys and all of that. Let's go to Coinmarketcap. And I'm just going to copy and paste this under, right at the beginning, under introduction. So it's the quick start. Just after the quick start, they sort of show you, like some, basic coding for Python. So just copy this whole thing as it is without that at the top, just copy it like that. And then once you copy it, we're going to stop running this, and we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this file, let's call it api.py, right? So let's say nano api.py, all right, and we're going to paste that in there. Okay, so let's read through what this is doing. Okay, so the first thing that it's doing is importing from request, import request session. So we need to install the library request. Okay, just remind me to do that. And then from requests, and then but JSON is standard, it's always there. And then it's going to that URL for Coinmarketcap, and the parameters of it is that you start at number 1 and you limit at number 5,000. That's a lot. Okay, so let's just like start at number 1 and limit it at like the top 5. Okay, and convert it to US dollars. Let's leave the price at US dollars, and then it creates some headers for you, application JSON, and then it puts in the API key. So the API key goes into the header of that API of the request call. But I'm going to delete this, and you need to put in your API key that you have, that you created from your own account. Okay, so I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to find my API key. All right, so I'm going to copy this API key, and I'm going to paste it in there. All right, so this is my API key. Don't worry, I'm going to delete this as soon as I'm done with that. And then after that, what it's going to do is that it's going to headers, update headers. It's going to respond this session, get the URL with the parameters and the data, and then it's going to print the data. So it's going to print for us the results that it's getting from the API call. So let's run this, and hopefully if everything goes well, it's going to print for us the top 5 cryptocurrency information from the Coinmarketcap API. Let's see what that data set looks like so that we can figure out how to parse that data set to get the actual data that we want to get out of it. Okay, so I'm going to close this, and I'm going to say yes, I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to run Python api.py. We're running api.py. That's the new file we just created, and if all goes well, it should print for us the top 5 cryptocurrency data information. Let's see what we get there. Okay, so you see you get something called status, error code, there's no error, credit count 1, and then you get the data. So we want to be able to pass into the data, and then the first thing in the data is ID1, and that's Bitcoin, but then you can't read anything after that. Everything is all sort of gobbled up. So let's try and see if we cannot pass into the data. And then the first, after the data, you'll see this is an array. So it brings back an array of numbers, and I'm assuming it will be an array from 1 to 5 because we limited it at 5. And so let's get the first one out of the array should be Bitcoin, right? So let's close this. Let's open nano API. Nano API.py. Let's open that one, and let's pass this a little bit more so that we get sort of more refined data so we can see what we want. So according to this, taking time there, okay. Basically, let me say Bitcoin information. So I'm gonna Bitcoin should be basically the data, all right, and the data dash data like that. All right, so what this does is that it sort of this is not a Python programming course, but if you look at Python dict or Python just sort of JSON objects, we're calling the object data inside the whole data that's been reported, okay? And then in there you saw there was an array, so we want the first element of the array, that should be Bitcoin stuff, okay? So let's test this, and let's say print data, and then let's say print Bitcoin, okay? Right, so Bitcoin within the data object, it's going to be the data. Within the data object that's returned, it's the data object inside the data object, and then it's the first element of the array that should be the Bitcoin. So let us save this and print it out and run this program and see what we get. So Python API.py. There you go. So it printed the first data part. I should not have printed this because now it's crowding my space. I can't read and it's really little at the bottom there. But you'll see after it printed that first big paragraph, the second thing it printed is ID1, name, Bitcoin, symbol, BTC. So you can see a little bit more about the kind of things that you want. So we want the name, okay? Just keep track of that. We want the name, we want the symbol, we want the slug, we want not that we want max supply. We're not interested in all of that. We're going to make this very simplistic. I'm just showing you how to pass sort of a data object. We want the quote, and inside the quote we want the USD, and inside the USD we want the quote, and then inside the quote we have the USD, and inside the USD we want the price, okay? Let's see if that works. If we can get the name, the symbol, the slug, and the price of Bitcoin, because that's what we want to display on our website. We want to display the Bitcoin price as it changes from the API. So I'm going to clear this, all right, and I'm going to open up my nano API.py. Right, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to stop printing that whole data object. Okay, I don't want to print this. It's just too much. Okay, so let's delete that. So that it only prints the Bitcoin. Actually, we don't need to print that anymore. So we know that that Bitcoin is correct. Okay. So we want to now see the Bitcoin name. All right. Bitcoin name is basically Bitcoin name, like that. No, like that, right? And then the Bitcoin symbol, all right, is Bitcoin symbol, right? And then the Bitcoin slug, Bitcoin slug is and you must get the spelling right exactly how it is on the API data object, or you're going to have an error. And the last thing we want is the price. So let's hope that I got this right, okay? The Bitcoin price, all right? The Bitcoin price is actually, okay, so I got the spelling wrong up here. So we should make this Bitcoin. Bitcoin. All right, and here again, Bitcoin. Okay. Bitcoin. I need to make sure the spelling is right so I don't get errors. So the Bitcoin price is the quote, right? And then after the quote, you need to then get the USD. All right. Then after the USD, you need to get the price. Right. So let's then print Bitcoin name is, all right, and then after that print Bitcoin name. Right, so basically it's going to print this object there, print the Bitcoin name. All right, and then after that I want you to print the Bitcoin price. And do a quick check quickly. I don't have spelling wrong because it's really hard when you're typing on this nano. It's very easy to misspell things and it won't warn you and you'll just get an error. And you know, when you work in Atom, it's much easier. Bitcoin name, Bitcoin price. Let's just hope all is well. If there's an error, we'll fix it. All right, X, yes, save that. And if everything goes well and I didn't misspell anything, right, and I got my sort of object, well properly, I should be able to, when I run this function app api.py, I should see the Bitcoin name and I should see the Bitcoin price in US dollars. Right, there you go. So the Bitcoin name is, this is the Bitcoin name, and that's the Bitcoin price in US dollars. So all is well, okay? So what we're going to do now is get this information from the api.py, get this information from in here, and show and sort of display it in the, in the application itself, right? So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in here because this is definitely much easier to work with, all right? This is definitely much easier to work with. So the first thing I want to do is to put this inside of a class, okay? All right. So put this inside of a class so that I can be able to call the class and call the function and so forth and so forth. So I've rearranged this file a little bit so that I can work with it off the the Flask application and sort of be able to call it. What I've done is I've introduced a new class and I've just called that class Bitcoin. I mean, you could call it anything. We could call it crypto. Maybe let's call it crypto for crypto. And within this class, I've got two functions. The first function says get the top 5 crypto elements, and I haven't changed anything. That what we had before is exactly what it is. The only difference is I'm returning the data as it is. So the data that I'll be returning will be the data of the top 5. And the second part is I've just changed that limit to 10 and I've called it get top 10, and it's going to return for me the top 10 cryptocurrency information. And then I'm going to just copy all of this as it is. Actually, let me just copy it. Yeah, let's copy it. No, copy it from there, that class. And then no. Copy, all right. And then we're gonna come in here and we're gonna delete everything here. And instead of doing it like that, all right, so we've copied and pasted that in there. Let us close this and save it. Say yes for saving it. And let us go and open up nano app.py. This is where our Flask application is sitting. And from here, we're going to say we need to import the new, so what did I call it? I called it crypto. Let me actually just copy that so I don't get that wrong. So what we're going to say is that just go down 1 line, 2 lines, and we're going to say from API import crypto. So what this is going to do is it's going to, because that API file, the API is saved inside the API file, which is in the same directory as our app.py file. You can just call API as a Python file, and it will get that Python file and import it into this current file you're working from. And then from that Python file, we want to import the crypto class, which is this class here, so that we can call these other functions and work with them. And to show you that this is going to work just fine, under your path root, let's just create some space in there. And I think you have to type it 4 times. 2, 3, 4. Yes. And let's just say that data 5, all right, is equals to, now we can call that crypto function. Okay, so we're gonna say crypto. No, actually we can't do it that way. We have to outside of the root, we have to say crypto is equals to crypto. So crypto is equals to crypto. Let me try and see if I can paste it. That's fine, with open and close brackets. So we are calling that class from the top there, and then when we get to the function here, we can just say crypto. Okay, and now we're calling that crypto. All right, so let me copy it instead so I don't get that spelling wrong, and I think the spelling is wrong. So yeah, it's crypto. So let's put a T there, and let's put a T there. Let's do everything right. So data 5 is crypto, right? Dash, the function that we want to call inside crypto is, let's say, get top 5. All right, because if we want to get Bitcoin, we can definitely call that function and then close it like that. So then if we want to then find our Bitcoin name, if you recall, it's Bitcoin. Let's say our Bitcoin price. Let's just get the Bitcoin price already. So our Bitcoin price, all right, is going to be that data 5. All right, so that the result we get from there, which was the data. Okay. Okay, so what we're doing here, we're calling data 5, we're creating a new variable called data 5, and inside this data 5 variable, we are calling the crypto, library that we just installed, and then we're calling the crypto class. And inside the crypto class, we want that function that's called get top 5. And then once we've gotten that data 5, inside that data 5, it would be the same as the data we had before. So we just need to call the data object, the number 0 at the array, and quote USD price, which will be able to get the USD price, but you said it was a very long number, so I'm just going to format it to 2 decimal places and call it a price. So then from the template that we're rendering, we should be able to have access to that variable price because we are exporting all the locals. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and we're going to open, actually we're going to cd templates. Okay, and we're going to nano index.html, and we're going to now be able to have access to this price variable inside our template itself. Okay, so this is the beauty of Ginger templates, and this is why I just love using this Python to build web applications, because it just makes it so easy. You can get access to your actual HTML files to the variables that you're calling from your back end. Okay, so the variable that we're looking for is price. All right, and then we're just going to close it. So you need like two open sort of curly braces, and close the curly braces, and call it price. And then we're going to save this as index.html. We're going to cd out of here, and we're going to call that function python app.py, and that's running. So if we go to our website now and we restart it, it should display the actual Bitcoin price in there. So this is the actual current Bitcoin price, and the beauty about this is every time this Bitcoin price gets updated, and this is why we call it a dynamic web application, every time the Bitcoin price gets updated, this value is going to change. So if I come back to the same website tomorrow and refresh it, I'm not going to see 171 because we didn't hard code this number into the whatever. We hard coded it into a variable which is getting the data from the API, which is always going to, the API is always going to be sending us the latest Bitcoin price. So every time you're calling this route, it's recalling the API every time, and it's always going to be getting the latest Bitcoin price, and you're going to show it nicely here. So we're going to make this, beautify our website a little bit, because I want to put this in a table, so that to show you that we can actually get more than the Bitcoin price. We can get like different types of prices and different sort of cryptocurrencies based on what's the top 10. So we want to get the top 10 cryptocurrencies. We don't know if Bitcoin is going to be in the top 10. We don't know if it's going to be Ethereum. We're actually not going to hard code even the name Bitcoin. We're just going to look for the top 10 cryptocurrencies, and those top 10 cryptocurrencies will be displayed. So in order to do that, let's start by actually now getting a Bootstrap. So to get Bootstrap, you get Bootstrap. All right, we get Bootstrap, we go in there, and we're gonna go to get started. And under get started, I love this this sort of like the showing you how to actually install both the CSS style sheet and the JavaScript libraries. So I'm going to copy this. In fact, we could actually just copy the entire HTML. We could copy the whole HTML. Make it much easier for us. Okay, so I'm going to close this, and then we're going to cd into templates. Right, and we're going to delete all of this. Actually, let's not type it in here, but let's delete this first. Let's type it in a different HTML file, because we're going to do this all at once. It will be a mission typing this from this nano editor. So before we paste it here, we're going to paste it in there. So delete all of that and paste that. Why is this like not showing the colors and all of that? It's terrible. Doesn't matter. So what we want is that we're going to display this in a table format. All right. So we're going to have a table. All right. But for the table code, I'm actually going to get it from Bootstrap as well. So to simplify my life a whole lot. So I'm going to just search in here for tables. Okay. And that's the tables, and you can just go through this and figure out the type of table that you like. I think I like this table, so we can display, the cryptocurrency name, the details, and so forth and so forth. So I think we'll go for this table, T-head dark. All right, so let's just copy this table as it is. Or should we use a striped table? The striped table better than, no, actually, let's just keep this one. Simplify things. So we're going to just copy this whole table as it is there, and we're going to paste it in there, right? And so let's just sort of tab this a little bit forward so we can see what's happening. I can explain to you how this is structured. So this is the table head. As you can see, this table has a head. It's got first, last, handle. All right, so this is the table head. First, last, handle is all the columns inside the head of the table. And then after that, you get the table body. All right, and inside the table body, So you got two tables here. So why do they give? Also, you got the light and the dark. Okay, so we must decide whether we want the light or the dark. I think we want the dark. So let's delete the second table. So there's actually two tables in here that we've copied. So I'm going to delete that second table. I just want the dark one. So it's the body and the head. So this is the head of the table, and this is the body of the table. And inside the body of the table, you've got the table row, table row, table row. So those are the different rows. And on row one, you have mark, auto, omdo, whatever. And here you'll see like this is mark, auto, omdo. This is like the different rows inside the table. Okay. So if you actually save this, you'll see the table as it is, but we don't want that. What we want is we want to display from the head, we want to display the crypto name, all right? And then after the name, we want the symbol, and then after the symbol, we want the slug, and then we want the price. Okay, we want the price. Okay, so you want the name, the symbol, the slug, and the price. Okay, and on the body, we're gonna do this differently, because we're gonna be getting data that's coming from an array. We can programmatically iterate through the array on the front end, and just display the table elements based on the number of rows that we actually get from our array. And I'll show you how that works. So currently what we are getting on this on the front end is what we're getting on the front end is okay, I don't have it written in any way, but what we're getting from the front end, for example, is going to be the data. And then from the data, we need to actually send through, yeah, data. Okay, so we need to return data. Let me do it like that. So that we are returning the array object that we can be able to iterate through the array object. Okay, so if we can return data, we can then iterate through the elements 0, 1, 2, 3, depending on how many numbers we have inside our array. All right, so let's go back in here and back to our HTML. Provided we got the array object, all right, and within that array object, I don't know what we're going to call it. Let's say we're going to call it results. Okay, so with Ginger template, you could just sort of type it like this, just the way I'm typing. We're gonna say for obj in results. Okay, so this is going to be iterating through the results object that we're going to be getting, which is going to be data. All right, and if you do a for statement, you need to end the for statement. Okay, so we're going to say end for here, end for. And then for that, let's just remove that so it's just a normal row TD. Okay, so let's just call this TD, like TD. And remove all of that. And we're going to put the actual values in here that we're getting from our TD. All right, for OBG in results, all right, TD in here, we want to display the object OBG dot the name. Okay, if you recall, on the front end, we showed it, we sort of wrote it like this. We wrote it like data.name, like that, right? So on the Ginger template, I mean on the template in the front end, you have to use the dot. So it's going to be the obj.name. All right, and on the second one, it's going to be the obj, which is that obj there, dot symbol. All right, and this is how we iterate through our object. This is going to be the obj dot slug. All right, and then the last one is going to be the obj dot quote dot USD dot price. Understand, right? So it should now iterate through the results, and for every time it sees a result object, whether it's the first or the last one, for that object, it should show the name, the symbol, the flag in this row elements. In this row, for each row it's going to do that, and then this should sort of coincide with that for our table. Okay, so I'm going to save all of this, and I'm going to copy this whole HTML like that. Okay, actually let me just X the HTML, and I'm going to paste it in there. All right, and paste our HTML in there, and I'm going to close and save that. And I just have to remember to go back and edit the nano API.py so that it returns the data object inside the data object, right? So what I've done on the other side, I must just make sure I make the changes in here as well. So in here, it should actually return not the data object, it should return the data.data. So it should return the data object inside the data object. And let's do the same thing. All right, so data then should be an array that we should be able to iterate through. Okay, so let's save that, and let's open nano app.py and make sure that we're getting the right thing. The price is equals to that, but we're not concerned about the price anymore. What did we call our? We called it results. Okay, so for object in results. Okay, so we should make sure that what we have a result object, which is actually the object of the object. So this would be the object, so we should actually just call this results. Okay, we should call this results because we are in the front end sort of iterating the results object, which is the object of the data object that's coming from the API call, right? So let's now remove everything else here, because we not going to be displaying the price anymore, and we're not going to be displaying that. Let's cross our fingers and let us run this program. Okay, character get top 5, return all the locals. All right, so let's do Python app.py and hope it doesn't have any errors. And if we go to our front end, hopefully we will see our table here in the results displayed with the top 5 crypto elements. And there you go. All right, so we have the crypto name. The first one is Bitcoin. That's the symbol, that's the slug, that's the price. Okay, now the price looks terrible, okay, but we're gonna fix that later. And then that's Ethereum, that's XRP. It's showing the top 5 because we're only calling the top 5. So if we went here and I don't know what we call our function here, we called it get top 10. All right, and if we called the nano app, if we called this result, if we called the get top 10 function instead of the get top 5 function, we should get 10 crypto elements displayed. Okay, so I'm going to save this and I'm going to run it, Python app.py, and if I come here, I should be getting now the top 10 because now we're calling the whole top 10 objects. Okay, so that's really amazing. I like what I'm seeing, but we're just going to do one quick fix now. We are going to just sort of edit this and make this look a little bit better, put the table in the middle, maybe put a heading in there. And so our HTML is pretty much the same. We're not changing much on the HTML. We're just going to put this table inside we're going to put this table inside a div, a container. All right, and then at the top there, we're gonna like create some space. This is not the best way to do it, but I don't have time. We're gonna have like an h1 element, and we're gonna call this Scholar Online crypto tracker, and we're gonna maybe have an h3 element and saying displaying the latest crypto prices from Coinmarketcap API. Yeah, whatever. All right, so let's recopy all of that. All right, and let's go into and stop that. CD template. And I don't want to delete all. It's going to take me quite a bit, so I'm going to just delete this index file and create a new one. Okay, so I'm going to just, you can just say sudo remove index.html. All right, and then you can create a new index.html. Then it's going to be blank, and you're going to paste our stuff in here. All right, so we're going to close that and save that. Yes. And we're going to cd out of this, cd out of that ls. Okay, let me clear so you can see at the top. Let's list, and then let's just like modify our app.py to nano app.py. So what we're going to do here, we're going to say we want to display the results a little bit better. Okay, so let me copy all of this. So I can sort of type it somewhere else where it's going to be easier for me to type. I'm going to type it in here. Okay, just remove all of that. We don't need that anymore. I'm going to paste it in there. All right, so what I want to do is to say for result in results. Okay, for result in results, I want the result quote, okay, USD price, all right, to be equals to that. Okay, I want to format it. Okay, so I want this formatted. All right, so let's just do that format, copy that and put it in there. So I want this formatted to 2 decimal places, all right? And then I want a $sign appended in front of it. So I want to see like a dollar price, but then I want it inside like that. Dollars. Okay, maybe a space. Yeah. And then we're going to have to use plus. Okay. So a dollar plus sign plus all of this. So it will sort of format it to look a little bit nicer. The quote USD price. And what else do we need? Yeah, that should be it. Okay. So let's then copy all of that. X that in there. Let's get out of this and delete it again. rm app.py. Okay, and then nano app.py. Nano app.py and paste it. All right, so this variable should be now sort of formatted, and close that, save that, and run a Python app.py. Right? What did I do? Nano. What did I do? Okay, so I didn't. Yeah, damn it. So I need to have all my. I need to sort of get all of my, I can't remember, I need to get all my Flask, everything at the top. I deleted it and I didn't so I need to import Flask. How did I miss that? All right. No, actually, I need to import render template as well. python.py, provided it runs well without issue. Let's go to our front end and refresh our front end. And currently you can see we are, we've put everything in the middle now. We see our top 10 Bitcoin, cryptocurrency prices. We've sort of edited how this looks. We're only showing the, two numbers after the decimals, and we've appended the dollar signs in front of it. And pretty much, yeah, that's how you build a web application. And I've shown you the cryptocurrency API, but you could use any API. A lot of web applications nowadays use API data. But the beauty of this is that if you build this, obviously, if you have time, you can style the CSS a little bit better. You can build graphs. You can do a whole lot. But I just wanted to show you the basics of just calling an API and displaying it on your front end in a table format without a lot of styling on the website itself. But once you get the basics right, and you've got the basics of building a Flask application on Python, on on a VPS, you can then, for example, put in a front end, and you can follow the rest of the tutorial, because I've actually just ended with the tutorial here. But if you continue with the rest of the tutorial, it's actually showing you how to configure the production server, the WSGI server, and then how to have like a domain name if you had a domain name, and how you would use nginx with your domain name. There's a second tutorial. I'm going to link it in the description as well. This will show you how to install nginx, okay? And please don't do the firewall stuff if you have not done proper SSHing, okay? You can do it just up to here and skip the firewall stuff. And only focus on the nginx, and you can get nginx to host your web application. And this tutorial and that tutorial, you could get this Flask application hosted on any domain name. So if you had a domain name that says, I don't know, bitcoin.co.za, that you want to display your Bitcoin prices, you could follow the rest of the tutorial and build it. But the hard part, this is the heavy lifting. This is actually the coding of it. And I'm going to try and put this on GitHub, on our GitHub, the code. So at least you have this code that we've used in here. And if you wanted to then use this code and then host it somewhere else by continuing with the rest of the tutorial and building the WSGI server and the sort of systemd files and your nginx proxy, wara wara, if you wanted to do all of that, you could continue, and then you could host it on a proper website, okay? So guys, thank you guys very much for watching. If you actually go to our Scholar tutorial on our Scholar Online website, we actually are doing the entire thing, but not with this. We're going to build more sort of Python web applications that we're going to go through the whole process of even installing the nginx proxy servers and having it hosted on an actual nginx account. But yeah, guys, thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.